Hey everybody, this is Jim Farmer with Out on Film. Thanks for supporting our festival this year. This is our 34th year of presenting stories for, by, and about our community and its allies. This is, however, our first hybrid festival, meaning we have a limited number of films in theater and then also a lot of films virtual as well. As always, we have a large number of short films, amazing short films. And one of the great films that we had this year is called Skeletons. It's in the Everything Under the Rainbow Shorts program. And we are very happy today to talk to the writer-director of Skeletons. Please welcome Adam DeCarlo.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We really like your film a lot, and our audiences have liked your film. So thanks for sharing it with us.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. It was such a thrill to be part of such an incredible festival.
Oh, thanks so much. So, I mean, first of all, I guess, how did the film come up?
It really started with the last shot of the film.
Okay.
That's where, laying in bed one night, I just saw that and then sort of worked my way backwards. This would have been like fall of 2019, so pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
In November, I think. And so I started jotting it down and yeah, kind of working backwards, like I said. And then I got to the start of the film till where about Robin Lord Taylor's character enters the film. And then, you know, the holidays came up, work was crazy. I just sort of put it away for a while and was like, had a little bit of writer's block and was like, I just don't know where this goes or like what the tension is. And so I just sort of put it away. And then, as we all know, there was a pandemic and I had nothing but free time. So I said, well, why don't I go back to Skeletons now that I have all this time in the world? And it's very apparent we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So why don't I go finish that? Because yeah, I want to figure this out. And so yeah, I took a few weeks and just slowly hammered away one page at a time. And then when I kind of had it in a place to share it, I just sort of gave it to a few select people to sort of, what doesn't work, what does work, and, sort of started editing from there until it got into a place that we liked it.
How personal is this film for you? I mean, were there any inspirations for any of the characters or any things that triggered this?
No, and you know what? The first time my boyfriend watched it, I said, just so you know, this has nothing to do with anything. He was like, well, I assumed that, but no, none of it came from any real personal experience.
So I mean, so many of the filmmakers that we've worked with this year, I mean, have talked about the fact that, last year was just so surreal in terms of, making a film, wanting to get it out to the world, and then woo, and then saying, oh no, what just happened? And then have to sit for a while and wait. And how did COVID affect you as a filmmaker, and how did it affect getting this film out into the world?
Well, last summer when we really started going into pre-production, there was sort of, with my producers and the DP and everybody, it was sort of like, we're all on board. We're just sort of waiting for, when New York is sort of in a place where we can do this. And
Sure.
I don't think SAG yet had really made guidelines as to how to do this yet, because, there's no playbook for this,
Exactly.
as far as filmmaking. So we sort of waited for a bit. And then once SAG started to really come out with some literature as to how to realistically do this, and it had to be SAG because of my two actors. And so once that kind of became apparent, it was like, all right, I think we'll shoot for October, which is when we shot it. We shot it for 2 nights in October. And then really, it was just all the hurdles that went into making a film via COVID with, zone A and B and C.
Exactly.
And you have to have a singular place for everybody to eat that can't be a part of the set, or, it was just all of those sort of regulations that were new that really added to the difficulty of getting a location. And we really lucked out because we got an Airbnb that was this apartment building that was only 2 units. And originally we were just going to film on the top unit.
Mhm.
And then we said, well, God, now we need all this extra room for everything that has to do with COVID. Is it cool if we just, rent out the bottom unit as well? And the people who were Airbnb-ing it were like, as actually that weekend, nobody has the bottom unit. So we had the whole building to ourselves, which was awesome. And there was a backyard. So everything worked out, but it was the wrestling to find a location that checked all of our boxes was really the difficulty on this.
So where was the premiere of the film? Where did it play for the first time?
It played virtually at Pride Flicks, which was via Q-Flix Philadelphia,
Okay.
in June. They kind of had to go with Pride Month, they chose a select few that had submitted for other festivals and said, we want to do this virtual Pride thing, and we would love for Skeletons to premiere there. So we premiered virtually this summer
Nice.
via that.
Have you been able to see it with an audience yet?
Yes, twice actually.
Nice.
Here in New York and then in Philadelphia, and then I'll be in Charlotte next weekend for Charlotte Film Festival to see it in a theater. So yeah, that's been really fun to see it on the big screen.
Yeah. So I mean, you've been in quite a number of festivals this year. Can you talk a little bit about your festival run?
Yeah, it started off very slowly. We finished the film in January, and as there's big windows of time between when you submit to when you find out and all that. So it was pretty much all winter, well into spring until we found anything out. And then it was a whole lot of no's before we got some yeses. And then we've had some really good traction lately. So I believe we just got accepted into our 15th festival. But yeah, so we have a bunch of in-person screenings coming up in Charlotte and Orlando, here in New York, up in Yonkers. So that'll be really fun. But yeah, it's going really well.
Nice.
Very excited.
Can you talk briefly about your career as a filmmaker? Where does this fall? Is this one of your first films? Have you been making films for a while?
This is my second film, actually.
Okay.
My first short, Lost and Found, was just exactly a year before Skeletons.
Okay.
So it would have been the 2019 kind of festival circuit. But originally I'm an actor. I've just always loved film. I'm a huge cinephile, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And I have a lot of actor and filmmaker friends who are like, you need to write, you need to write, you need to write. It's like, I don't think that's me. I don't really have any ideas. I don't know how to go about, And then on the train one day, I had the idea for my first one, and we made a short film. And I was the lead of that short. So it was sort of a vehicle for me with acting. And everything was on location here in New York City. We kind of guerrilla shot it on location everywhere. It was a lot of hustle, but on Skeletons, I specifically wrote this for Tommy Beardmore and Robin Lord Taylor, the two leads. And I really wanted to enjoy the directing aspect of this and not having to flip back and forth between on camera and then watching, all the takes. I was like, I just want to sit in front of a monitor and direct and really be hands-on with this project. So that's why I was not in this one, and I really wanted to focus on directing these two actors. And but I've always been a huge movie fan.
Did you always envision this as a short film, or was it something you said, well, maybe in the future I could stretch this and make a feature?
Yeah, it was very much made as a short, as a kind of a scene with these two guys in this very claustrophobic room. And yeah,
there's a lot of, for the actors involved with this, there's some heavy lifting. There's some, there's a lot going on here. I mean,
yeah.
So you'd worked with these actors before?
Yeah, they're two very dear friends of mine / colleagues for years, and I know their work very well. We're very good personal friends, and
Mhm.
I knew they actually hadn't. They had met. They were both in Lost and Found, my first film,
Oh, nice.
but they never met. They were in separate scenes. So they met at the premiere. But then I just really I knew that their acting styles, which are very different,
Mhm.
um, would click, and that they would have good chemistry, which for this film is very important. There
Sure.
needs to be, you know, that relationship there, even though it ended several years ago.
Mhm.
So I wrote it with them for them, and they both were very much down to do it. But I just knew these two guys are going to have this chemistry, and we did a few Zoom uh, run throughs and rehearsals, and then we shot it. But they're incredible in it.
Oh, nice. So now are you're sort of nearing the end of your festival run, or you're sort of midway through? Where would you say you are?
Um, yeah, I would say we're just a little past the midway.
Okay.
Probably going into early winter, maybe
Okay.
like February, Marchish.
Cool.
Yeah, and then it should be wrapped up. So hopefully find a streaming platform or home for it online where people can see it outside of the festival circuit.
Great. So what's next for you? What are you working on in the future?
I have an idea for another short. I haven't started writing it yet. I'm still sort of working it out and mulling it over. I'm a big get little things and put it into the notes app on my phone. So it
Mhm.
just like keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So yeah, I'm trying to work that out and do some research on it, but I'll probably start writing it here in the next month or so. But
Great.
um, yeah, that'll be another short film
Great. Okay.
in the LGBT arena
Oh,
again.
nice. Nice. How important is it for you to tell, LGBTQ stories and have accurate representation?
Yeah, I think it's important, and I my two films that I've done, I like films and stories that can say something
Mhm.
without saying it,
Mhm.
and just having characters exist in the world without having to make a huge point of it or to say it's just like in Skeletons, it's a relationship story. The
Mhm.
relationship just happens to be two gay men.
Yeah.
But in the script, it's not something that needs to come up or be addressed as gay per se. It's just two people in a relationship. And that's how I like to look at it, because that's how everything that's done with straight people, you don't have to like put a name on it or a label that
Okay.
this is a straight couple. You just accept them as a couple, and everyone goes, yes, people like that exist. And so with my two films, I've had LGBT characters who it doesn't really need to be addressed. They just exist, and that's the way it is, and everyone in the world is aware of it, and it doesn't need a label.
Okay. Great. The film is Skeletons. It is part of our Everything Under the Rainbow shorts. It's one of the great films that are part of that package. Thanks, Adam, for joining us today. Adam is the writer, director of the film, and we certainly appreciate you sharing the film with us this year. And thanks for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks so much.